In NBA news, we'll flip it over to basketball. We are still in the midst of the NBA playoffs. Some close contested series going on. We've got Denver and oh my God, why am I blanking? Timberwolves are Denver's up 3-2. We got Mavs recently took the lead over the Thunder 3-2 as of recording. Lots of interesting playoff basketball going on. But we're not going to talk about the teams that are in the playoffs right now because while those games are good, the biggest headline of the week from the NBA came with a team that's been eliminated for a while in the Lakers, as they often do get in the headlines. It was recently or some insider information that apparently JJ Redick, former player, current media analyst, personality, podcast co-host with LeBron,
God,
is considered to be
a lot of
it's a
handles
lot
on
of
that guy,
things.
huh?
He's a oh yeah, he's got a couple things going on. Um, but he might add one more title to that because apparently the Lakers have considered him a leading candidate to replace Darvin Ham as their head coach. It looks a little bit ridiculous on the face of it. Got no coaching experience. Obviously played in the NBA. Has that going for him. But I don't know. Especially with the whole podcast thing with LeBron, this looks kind of
Yeah.
sketchy. What do you think?
Oh, I think that you really, really just said it perfectly right there. LeBron wants to bring on his podcasting buddy and to coach the team. Who it would look better, I will say. Let's say in a magical world, JJ Redick, instead of becoming an analyst for ESPN, he decided to go out and maybe coach college or even high school for all I just coach somewhere. Right? Let's say JJ Redick went out there and he picked up his clipboard, he picked all that up, and he went, I'm gonna make this work. And he went and coached for a little bit, and now we were talking 3 years down the road here, where LeBron's like, yeah, bring Redick in. Maybe I'd understand a little bit more. But to give Redick basically the job just because he's LeBron's friend is just the most bonkers thing I've ever. I think this might be. We all talk about like basically LeGM and all that and that whole thing. Like we've talked about that 100 times with different hires for LeBron. If it has ever, I don't know if it's ever been more obvious than in this case, because of the fact that it's not like there's an actual argument for Redick being the coach, other than the fact that he's LeBron. He does this podcast with LeBron. Let's bring him in. Like, what are you gaining by bringing in a guy like Redick? What is his coaching style? Like, you know how we talk about that when we talk about
Nope.
bringing in a coach? What is Redick's coaching style? Like, no, who knows? He's never coached before. He hasn't coached anywhere. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And it does a holy, a good thing to probably bring up here is the fact that the Charlotte Hornets they didn't say when, but I remember reading this article at some point. They did at one point think about bringing in Redick for their head coaching vacancy, but passed on
Yeah.
him. And that's honestly more surprising to me because I'm surprised he'd be getting looks at all across the
Elsewhere.
league.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's pretty crazy to me. But I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. If we want to get into what Redick said that kind of fueled the fire a little bit as well, is why he wants
Oh.
to get into coaching potentially and why he wanted to look for specifically an NBA head coaching role was the fact that he said that his competitive drive wasn't being holy, Simon's having a stroke. His competitive drive isn't being satisfied just sitting in that analyst role. And to quote what he said in this article is, I really miss the juice. I miss the action. I miss the competition. I miss the leadership. I miss being on a team. That's what he said on the Road Trippin' podcast. That's a hell of a quote. That is a hell of a quote. But
JJ Redick
is
uses
this
the juice. You heard it here
Oh, you
first,
know what?
folks.
He continues actually. This is what he continued to say. In a locker room, physically in a locker room after winning a road game, you miss that stuff. There's a high that you get as an athlete that goes beyond passing and shooting and dribbling and taking a charge or dunking a basketball. Those are all these little moments of actual gameplay. It's the other moments that I miss, that I feel like we all miss as ex-athletes. And the part about coaching in general is the thing that I miss. And the things that I love doing that involves coaching. That is all part of coaching. That was a hell of a quote. I actually don't know what he was actually That was very
I was gonna say.
that was very
I was gonna say. I feel like he said a lot without saying anything.
Exactly. Yeah. I get what he's trying to say. He's basically saying that in his experience as a veteran, being on all of those teams and being in all those situations, he misses that. He thinks that he can be a good coach because he coached as a player. I think is kind of what he's saying, in a sense, or at least
He's been in a locker room. He's returning to a place he knows.
Yeah, exactly. That's a better way to put it.
But I do think that's a different conversation, and I want to bring up kind of the hypothetical you brought up at the start of this, because obviously I'm still not like, I'm more of a football fan than I am a basketball fan, but I do think there's a football example that's kind of pertinent to this, and in terms of that comparison you made, where JJ Redick going into this now, 0 coaching experience, versus you gave the hypothetical if he went to the high school or maybe even college level, coached for 3 years, and then went and tried to go up to the NBA, different conversation. I think you look at the big examples of those two in football that I see are Deion Sanders in college, and then you've got Jeff Saturday in the NFL. I think those are the two big ones, where you look at Deion Sanders, it worked his way up, where he went to Jackson State first, obviously smaller college program, had lots of success there, moved up to Colorado, had a decent amount of success in his first season, gained a lot of hype. Season didn't end up going as well as necessarily people hoped it would at the end of it, but still outperformed expectations, as that Colorado team wasn't very good to begin with, where that's kind of viewed more as a success, versus you bring in a guy like the Colts did for Jeff Saturday for half a season as the interim head coach, where that was really just bringing back a former player because he was a former player. No coaching experience past maybe high school for Jeff Saturday. He was the head coach. He was the head coach of Hebron Christian Academy.
Dang.
So no coaching. So no
Pretty
coaching experience
there
for Jeff Saturday, pretty much. And Jeff Saturday won his first game and then immediately lost 7 straight, which kind of shows you how it goes when you bring in a guy who was not a coach, because it's a different profession, right? It's not the same thing. You can't just come in and say like, I'm gonna be a good coach, I'm gonna be a good.
You win that first game out of hoorah, hoorah! This is our former teammate. We like this guy, and then you lose 7 straight because you don't know how to actually do your job.
Yeah. And I think that would probably be the same thing with JJ Redick, because it's not like JJ Redick could just kind of coast on the talent of his team, because while it is a talented team, it's also an aging team with AD and LeBron, and it's a team that got eliminated in the play-in game. Or no, did they make it in and get like
first round?
Got swept in the first round.
Got beat to death by Jokic.
Something like that. Yeah. It was like swept or 4-1 or whatever it was. I think it was 4-1 if I'm remembering right. I don't remember. Not that it matters.
Yeah, not that it matters.
Because we all knew they weren't going to go anywhere.
Well, playing Jokic in the first round is a death sentence.
It's a death sentence. But anyways, he's not going to be able to just coast on the talent. I think it's just an experiment that's not going to go well. And to just kind of like throw it back to you with this, Simon. We both kind of you brought it up at the start before the podcast. We kind of talked about it a little bit. How do you think the fact that JJ Redick is currently co-hosting a podcast with LeBron, how is that going to impact the locker room? Like how as Lakers management can you possibly okay that? Like, I know LeBron is management. How does even he think this is a good idea?
I don't know, man. I look at it like, you know what's funny? My big example that I look for is like, I just think that coaches having a podcast at all is a very poor idea. Just out of principle, because you're outright going on to this. The expectation isn't you're going to go on your podcast each week and talk about your life and how you walked your dog and how you thought, oh, the team played great, I like what they saw. No, you're going to be giving an inside look into that locker room. You need to give something that'll keep the fans wanting to watch this. This is the behind the scenes look with the head coach. This isn't JJ Redick going, oh yeah, we played good. LeBron, he had nice things to say about it. That's not this. This is, God, this guy's feet stink, or whatever the hell inside the locker room crap you want to say. That's what you're getting out of a podcast, and you have two people who are in that locker room just basically just talking, and they're just like, it's just dumb. It's just dumb because, like, you cannot talk about the Lakers at all. You cannot. That's not going to happen. Like, you can never mention the Lakers if you were doing that. Should just be the rule with the podcast. You never bring up the team. You never bring up a player. You never talk about what you do for that team. You just avoid it. You talk about the other 29 teams at all cost. That is what you're doing on that podcast, because you cannot afford to have JJ Redick just on a whim, just while they're talking about the team, just go like, I think he played like shit. Shitstorm instantly. The whole world explodes. It doesn't help that it's the Lakers. Like, if it was a different team, even then, with LeBron as well, like, it is like the biggest shitstorm upon shitstorm of things all working against each other. And there's no way in hell it works.
Yeah.
There's no way. I cannot imagine in a million years.
No.
Imagine if and we always look, there's a lot of things we talk about where there's even just a small, tiny chance things go differently, right? When I look at a move like this, I think there's no way in hell. And you can hold me to my word on that. If JJ Redick gets brought in to coach the Lakers, there is no way that team succeeds. I do not imagine in a million years JJ Redick coaches a team with LeBron James on it to a championship. Not in a million years. I will jump in the Pacific Ocean.
There we go. There we go. You're going to be joining me.
Yeah,
I
there we
still
go.
got to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on board with you there. I'm not going to throw an ocean bet out there again because I'm already one in the hole for that. But,
that's true.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I think it's made worse I think it's made significantly worse by the fact that it's LeBron's buddy, and that's just a weird dynamic already. I think, not that I think JJ Redick couldn't succeed. I think there's a high likelihood he doesn't, just because he doesn't have coaching experience. But from everything you see of him as an analyst and a player, like, he's a smart guy. I think he could make it work. I just think maybe if he got hired for the Charlotte job, maybe eventually something works out there. Like, I think that would have been more likely than anything working out in LA, just because of how weird those dynamics are already. I could see him potentially in, like, everything kind of goes right for him and he kind of picks up on stuff right away and is able to use, like, his, like, strategy to his advantage, whatever it may be. Don't know what it would be at that point, but whatever it may be, he gets some sort of break as a coach. I could see that happening for him anywhere else. I don't think it'd happen in LA. Like, I think that's just the worst possible case for him to start his coaching career, because it's automatically all going to be overshadowed by his relationship with LeBron, as most coaches are. But this is just to a completely different level.